going so far?
It's going well. It's going very, very well, and it's getting better every day, you know, because I think it's a new tour, and we're learning a lot after every show. And then I personally take a lot of, you know, do a lot of research after every show to find out what's going right, especially like the lights we were talking about before, and to make sure that because I mean they're very sophisticated lights and they can do so much more. And I think every day I learn something, you know. I ask the lighting man to do something new, and also we're interjecting the show with new songs. So every time we do a new song, we have to have a new light thing. So I think I ask him to try and do different things every day. So I don't know. I mean, you've seen the shows before, but I don't know if you find them different. But I mean, the light cues can be different, you know, forever. I mean, you can have a new show every day if you wanted to.
Actually, how long did you rehearse for this show? I mean, it's very
We rehearsed for a week in Los Angeles. For 2 weeks. So, but basically, it was all on technical things to make sure that the lights would work. But even then, we didn't really rehearse that much. We didn't have time to rehearse the new songs. It was basically, you know, trying out the lights and also trying to introduce the new keyboard man. So we had to try and find out if the new songs were going to work with an extra musician, because we'd never done that before. And so most of the time was taken up by that. So we didn't have time to do the new songs.
We recently spoke to Mac in Munich,
Yeah.
the musical studios. What do you think of him? I mean, you work quite a lot.
Well, Mac is an absolute genius. An absolute genius. I think I personally wouldn't want to work with anybody else. And if I was doing any solo projects or anything outside the format of Queen as well, I would use him. What did he say about us?
He said exactly the same.
Did he?
about
Oh, that's
you.
good.
Exactly the same. He said you want to do it quick, you know, very
Is that what he said? Oh, that's good. Also,
It's really.
the rapper was good.
So it's now the 10th anniversary of the band officially.
Yeah.
Is it hard today to last for 10 years or?
Oh yes, I mean, I tell you, and touch wood. We've been very lucky, and I must say I didn't really think we were going to last that long. I mean, you never think about it that way. You don't get up every morning and think, my God, this is going to be over. You just carry on and come up with some fresh ideas and think about what to do. So it's like a big business thing. And as long as we don't take it too seriously. Earlier on, we used to take it very seriously. And I think it got a bit too serious. And I just thought to myself, we should try and inject some fun into it, you know? So it's so that you don't get too serious and too moody about it. So a little bit. And I think sometimes that comes in, that goes through, gets into the songs as well. You know, get a bit of fun in there. And,
does the way have changed how you are together as a band? I mean, 10 years ago you probably stood all the time together.
Very true. Yes, it's sort of now we've learned to accept each other instinctively. You know what I mean? We know it's a kind of job, and we come together for, which is a good thing, because if we stayed together all the time, we'd get on each other's nerves and get. There was a time where there was a lot of friction, you know, where we felt, but then we sort of ironed that out, and we argue a lot, we fight a lot, but in the end, you know, what really is the key feature is that we must come up with some product, some good stuff, so we know. And I think we've used an intelligent, you know, we don't get too, because it's easy to get very egotistical and say, oh, you know, I'm the greatest and all that, and I'm not getting, it's quite a fight. And it's not easy. It's not easy because egos can run wild, and you know all kinds of things can happen. You have to kind of, you have to kind of keep them down a bit and keep one foot on the ground. You know, it's easy to sort of say I'm a big star and I want everything. It's very easy.
Do you think that the values in the rock music scene have changed a little bit since the late 60s, early 70s? Maybe at that time the cliche of sex and drugs and rock and roll was...
Yeah, I think you get various elements always to it. There'll always be, it's a kind of tradition, there will always be a change because you need, the whole industry needs something like that. Every now and again you get a new phase and everybody and then they get a bit too easygoing, and then somebody new comes in, and then everybody who's gone before says, "Oh, we better make sure." And that's good. It's like getting a new, fresh injection, and I like that. It's good competition, and you need that.
Rock music, your show is very visual show. Is the visual element more important today in the rock music, or has it just developed?
I think kind of visual element is always going to have to be there. It's a form of entertainment, entertainment will take. And I think there's no way, people want to be entertained in various ways. And one way I know they don't want to be entertained is for people to just come on and play their songs, because they can hear it on the records and go home. I think that's why people try different things. It's all and a lot of visual theatrics has always been there, from any kind of theatre entertainment, like even Gypsy Rose Lee, from Stripper. I mean, you've got to do something to strip or whatever. It's a kind of entertainment. So it's visual, it's got to be, So visual theatrics will always be used. All the greatest acts have used it in one way or other. Like Jimi Hendrix or the Stones, or it has to be there. It's a form of entertainment. It's like plus. You do your music and then entertainment plus. And I personally just like doing that anyway. I'd hate to go on stage and just sit and sing my songs. I mean, I have to move. It depends on each song. If there's an aggression in some song, I have to show it.
Last question. When you look at the Stones, they have their 20th anniversary this year.
Good Lord, is it 20 years?
Yeah.
Good luck to them.
So, can you imagine to get to the same age with your band?
Well, 20 years. Yeah. 20 years.
So what's your comment?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I really, at this time, I wouldn't know. I think it'd be nice if people still buy records and if we still feel. So the most important thing is for us to feel, and I would hate to just do it just because we want to do it to sell records or just to make money. If we weren't interested in it, I wouldn't do it, because at the moment I'm interested in doing this. If I lose that interest, I will go and do something else, because I feel I can do it. I like trying out different things, but at the moment there's a lot within Queen that we all can do. So and one day I will say to myself, I've done enough with Queen, I'll try and do something else. So I couldn't tell you whether that can happen tomorrow or in 2 years' time or another 10 years, but who knows, let's wait and see.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Queen are a British rock band formed in London in 1970. Their classic lineup was Freddie Mercury, lead vocals, piano, Brian May, guitar, vocals, Roger Taylor, drums, vocals, and John Deacon, bass. Their earliest works were influenced by progressive rock, hard rock and heavy metal, but the band gradually ventured into more conventional and radio-friendly works by incorporating further styles, such as arena rock and pop rock. Before forming Queen, May and Taylor had played together in the band Smile. Mercury was a fan of Smile and encouraged them to experiment with more elaborate stage and recording techniques. He joined in 1970 and suggested the name Queen. Deacon was recruited in March 1971, before the band released their eponymous debut album in 1973. Queen first charted in the UK with their second album, Queen 2, in 1974. Sheer heart attack later that year and A Night at the Opera in 1975 brought them international success. The latter featured Bohemian Rhapsody, which stayed at number 1 in the UK for 9 weeks and helped popularize the music video format.
When Keep Yourself Alive came out, I happened to be a bit of a freak on phasing, and that was the first thing that I picked up from that. Was that your own idea to do all that stuff?
Oh yes, yeah. We just about do all our own production. We have Roy Baker, who's sort of co-producers with us, and all the 4 albums have been a co-production with him.
Do you feel that Night at the Opera is perhaps you're reaching now, you've reached a climax at a certain stage in your career? Because I believe it's definitely the best that you've ever done.
Thanks. I think it's possibly the peak so far because it's the most successful. But I mean, we hope we're going to get better.
We definitely. It is going to be difficult, especially with Bohemian Rhapsody being as large.
Well, a kid wrote me a
as-
letter about that and said, I study demonology and satanic things. Why do they use Beelzebub? And I suppose that's a legitimate question.
Why do we use it?
Yeah.
It's just why do we use anything? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean I study demonology and things. I just love the word Beelzebub. It's a great word, isn't it?
Very camp word when you look at it. Actually, the letter was signed with a cloven hoof at the time. What is that?
The
What is
same sect. I belong to that.
You're sticking pins in effigies.
The
Ooh,
next
don't say
single
that.
that's coming off Night at the Opera is You're My Best Friend, I understand. And already we're getting a lot of requests for that. But it's entirely different in structure to Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's what makes the album attractive to me, is it
This is
right?
John's song.
Mm. John wrote.
Yes, because I mean that's probably one thing in the group that we all do right, which lends to the variety of our albums. You know, it's a very good thing, I think.
There have been several songs on your albums that have been involved with death and all this sort of stuff. Is that just an accidental thing, or?
That's Freddie's morbid mind.
One of my docile moods, actually.
There's a thing that everybody, I suppose, is going to be wondering about, the campness of the act. That was one of the things I read in the pop press in England, that the act was a little bit camp and all
It's
this
not.
stuff.
It's not really camp, you know. It's rock and roll, and it's very visual as well. There's a lot of rock and roll music there. And
I think it's the same as the variety content that we have on the album. We try and put that across on stage. So I mean, each song that we do has a different sort of meaning to it. So I mean, you know, it is rock and roll as a sort of label, but within that, I mean, each song has a different.
Would you say it was rock
sort
and
of
roll
feel.
with theatre?
Yes, you could call it that. I mean,
kind
it's
of,
very difficult to label because each song is in a different sort of category, really. I mean, it's from the 1920s vaudeville to the heavy, the real sort of raw rock and roll, to the ballad, to you know.
This perhaps would, the theatrical aspect may explain your gigantic statue in Japan. They're very theatrical sort of people.
Now you're
aren't they?
talking.
I think that's very astute. I think it does
has something to
to
do
a great
with it,
extent explain a lot of.
I understand that in Japan that you couldn't even leave your hotels. That's the
It was
immense
very difficult.
popularity.
Yeah.
Very
It was this time round. It was we had to have bodyguards all around, and
You did
it
see
got.
the kitchens, though.
In fact, yes, and we were sort of reduced to travelling in laundry lifts and things like that. But the price of fame, they tell me.
But this must become tremendously confining after a little while.
It was very claustrophobic, you know.
Oh, we
It was nice. Roger and I managed to get away a couple of days early to over here in Perth, and nobody knew we were here. We just went out on the beach and couldn't believe that it was quiet and peace, and had a good time.
What is your
Came
next?
down
I'm
to
sorry.
And hot and sunny.
Very nice, yeah.
What is your next album?
Well, it's it's already completed. No, we haven't even started thinking about it, to be honest. We've just been very busy touring, and after we finish with Australia, we go back and have a rest and then think about it. We've got a plan. We've got to write it yet. Think about it.
Have you found that the world tour, which has been pretty extensive, has given you any ideas to bounce off into new songs and new ideas for structuring
We
songs?
always get some ideas from being on tour, you know.
We get some ideas, but it's very difficult to actually write and then sort of write songs and get them constructed. It's ideas, yes, but to actually write on the road. I know a lot of people can do that, write on the road while they're touring, but I don't think we have.
We don't
yet.
no.
We
It's
don't
just-
bang them together. You
Yeah.
know,
It
in
takes a while.
hotel rooms. We do sort of gather influences and lots of experiences on the road. Are very useful when you come to write them after being on the road.
We take touring very seriously, really. You get completely consumed by the actual business of playing in theatres, because that's really most of what it's about to us, you know. So you tend not to get involved in writing songs so much as thinking about getting across to the audience that you're playing to.
Back to pop journalism, I suppose, but pop and rock and roll seems to be, they get too involved with themselves. Now Rolling Stone magazine in America and New Musical Express in England.
Absolutely.
Do you find that they become very condescending
Very
after a
good
while?
choices, yes.
We don't take any of them very seriously, actually.
Yeah.
Having seen them go from the absolute bottom to the absolute top as regards what they think of us, and back down again, probably. We just
no doubt it will go.
can't really take it very seriously.
I mean, the
When you
whole
read-
idea of having a magazine that pretends to write seriously about politics and rock and roll at the same time, to me, is totally absurd.
Yeah, new musical express is more into nail varnish than music.
Queen, I hope you have,
Dig at me.
I hope you have
No,
a very successful tour. I know it will be, and it's a sellout here in Perth and the rest of Australia. This is going over to Melbourne and Sydney. I know that you people have...
The band have released a total of 18 #1 albums, 18 #1 singles, and 10 #1 DVDs worldwide, making them one of the world's best-selling music artists. Queen have sold over 170 million records, with some estimates in excess of 300 million records worldwide, including 34.5 million albums in the US as of 2004. Inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001, the band is the only group in which every member has composed more than one chart-topping single, and all 4 members were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2003. In 2009, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions were inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, and the latter was voted the world's favorite song in a 2005 Sony Ericsson Global Music poll. The band received Ivor Novello Awards for Outstanding Contribution to British Music in 1987, and Outstanding Song Collection in 2005 from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. In recognition of the vocal harmonies of Mercury, May and Taylor, in 2006 Queen were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. In 2018 they were presented the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. In January 2020, Queen became the first band to join Queen Elizabeth II on a British coin. Issued by the Royal Mint, the commemorative £5 coin features the instruments of all 4 members of the band. In their top 10 list for the Global Recording Artist of the Year, the IFPI named Queen the 6th best-selling artist worldwide in 2018, and the 5th best-selling artist in 2019, in both cases the most popular act of their contemporaries.
You can't draw any strict parallels with that name at all. It's just a name and...
Man kann überhaupt nichts direkt von unserem Gruppennamen ableiten. Wir brauchten halt einen Namen. So nannten wir uns Queen. Man kann da vieles hineininterpretieren. Macht zum Beispiel, königlich oder majestätisch. Aber eigentlich bedeutet unser Gruppenname nichts Konkretes. Ich meine, nach einer gewissen Zeit verliert wahrscheinlich jeder Bandname seine Bedeutung. Wenn man eine Popgruppe gründet, ist das Wichtigste, dass sich die Leute den Namen merken. Die Leute sagten bei uns Queen, was ist das? Damit haben wir natürlich auch spekuliert. Wir wollten einen Namen, den man einmal hört und nicht mehr vergisst. Erst im Nachhinein beginnt man als Band zu arbeiten und gibt so dem Namen auch eine Bedeutung.
Normalerweise probieren wir die Show erst auf einer Amerika-Tournee aus, denn dort sind die Konzerthallen größer und daher kann man das Ganze viel leichter aufbauen. Es ist ziemlich schwierig, die neue Show in Europa zuerst aufzuziehen, weil man durch die kleineren Hallen weniger ausprobieren kann. Also normalerweise machen wir zuerst die Amerika-Tournee und wenn die Show eingespielt ist, kommen wir damit nach Europa und kennen schon die Grenzen unserer Möglichkeiten. Diesmal ist es umgekehrt, das macht es für uns schwerer. Für eine Show wie diese von Queen brauchen wir inklusive Design und Bühnenbau ca. 6 Monate Vorbereitungszeit.
Probably involves about 6 months work. About 6 months. Well, we handle most of the planning. My company handles most of the planning stages, the production, the travel, hotels, staff, sound, lights, you know,
Meine Firma führt die gesamte Planung dieser Tournee durch, also Produktion, Reisen, Hotels, Ton, Licht. Und wenn die Tour dann läuft, bin ich der Tourneemanager. Im Ganzen also, von den Musikern bis zu den Chauffeuren, sind wir 40 Leute, die bei dieser Tour von Stadt zu Stadt ziehen. Wenn wir in Amerika auf Tournee sind, haben wir zwar mehr Equipment mit, aber deswegen nicht mehr Leute. Das Personal in den einzelnen Hallen ist in den USA so gut, dass man mehr Equipment mit weniger Leuten betreuen kann.
In America, due to the buildings and the type of staff you have in the buildings, you can take more equipment and not so many people. It's very difficult. Put it that way. Especially with a large.
Sagen wir mal so, es ist sehr schwer, in Europa mit einer Tournee viel Geld zu machen, besonders bei einer so großen Show wie bei Queen, wo der Aufwand so enorm ist. Benzin ist in Europa teurer, Transport, Hotels, das alles führt dazu, dass es sehr schwer wird, in Europa überhaupt mit Tourneen Geld zu verdienen.
Warum ist Queen Ihrer Meinung nach so erfolgreich?
Sie sind eine gute Liveband und sie machen wirklich sehr viele Konzerte, was ich sehr wichtig finde. Was ihre Platten betrifft, weiß ich keine gute Antwort. Ich persönlich höre privat eigentlich nicht viel Rockmusik.
As far as the recording is concerned, I guess I really don't know. I don't listen to much rock and roll music personally, and it's a big business now, whereby in those days it was more of a cowboy type business, you know. It's like more.
Heute ist die Rockmusik ein großes Geschäft. In den 60er Jahren war das noch ganz anders. Da war Rockmusik ein Hasardspiel. Heute gibt es für alles Spezialfirmen, für die Lastwagen, für Tontechnik, Lichtausrüstung. Es wurde eine regelrechte Industrie. Das ist es, was aus der Rockmusik wurde, eine Industrie. Und was für eine.
We did it in the same studio where, what was that film made?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, The Godfather.
Heaven's Gate was made in LA. It's a big film studio.
Wir haben vor der Tournee in einem Filmstudio geprobt. Übrigens in dem Studio, wo Francis Ford Coppola seinen Film Der Pate gedreht hat und wo auch Heaven's Gate entstanden ist. Wie viel eine unserer Lichteinheiten kostet, weiß ich nicht. Wollt ihr sie etwa kaufen? Diese Dinger, wir nennen sie UFOs, wurden speziell für uns entworfen und angefertigt. Sie haben dafür ein spezielles...
Absolutely boring if we just churned out the same old stuff and it was, you know,
Es wäre für uns absolut langweilig, immer nur dieselben alten Songs zu spielen. Es macht uns Spaß, Neues auszuprobieren. Wenn man sich aber zum Beispiel unsere neue Platte anhört, so ist vieles neu und ungewohnt. Trotzdem findet man Ähnlichkeiten mit früheren Songs.
album you'll find it. Some of our early stuff is still there, you know. Hey! Bohemian Rhapsody was like 4 or 5 albums.
Bohemian Rhapsody ist schon 4 oder 5 Alben her. Seit damals haben wir uns ziemlich verändert. Ein Lied wie We Will Rock You war ein Schritt in eine ganz neue Richtung. Oder auch Crazy Little Thing Called Love oder Another One Bites the Dust. Wir verändern uns laufend, so sind wir halt.
So basically that's the kind of group we are.
We've done quite a lot of albums now and it's impossible.
Man kann es nicht immer allen recht machen. Wir versuchen es vielen oft recht zu machen.
You try and please quite a lot of people most of the time.
War die Zusammenarbeit mit David Bowie eure Idee oder ist es von ihm ausgegangen?
Es war mehr wie eine Jam-Session. Es passierte einfach spontan. Er war zufällig in der Schweiz, als wir dort Plattenaufnahmen machten. Ich glaube, hätten wir es geplant, wäre es nie zustande gekommen. Solche Dinge kann man nicht vorausplanen. Es war ganz einfach. Er kam eines Tages zu uns ins Studio und hörte sich unsere neuen Songs an. Wir gingen dann zusammen essen und sagten plötzlich, warum gehen wir nicht einfach gemeinsam ins Studio und schauen, was passiert? Also machten wir das am nächsten Tag. So fing das Ganze an. Bis wir tatsächlich anfingen, war es schon ziemlich spät in der Nacht. Wir spielten zunächst so aus Spaß einige unserer alten Lieder, dann begannen wir ein neues. Am nächsten Tag hörten wir uns das dann an und sagten, das ist eigentlich ganz gut, machen wir es zu Ende.
Just to write one, and it sort of happened after that. And then the next day we thought, oh, that's pretty good, so let's finish it. That's all. And you might be interested to know our record Under Pressure has just gone to #2 in Argentina this week, which is an interesting parallel.
Es wird Sie vielleicht interessieren, dass unser Song Under Pressure diese Woche auf Platz 2 der Hitparade in Argentinien liegt. Das ist zur Zeit des Falklandskonflikts ganz interessant. Natürlich werden wir diesen Konflikt nicht beenden können. Gäbe es für uns eine Möglichkeit, etwas dagegen zu tun, würden wir es unternehmen. Aber ich fürchte, es liegt nicht in unserer Macht als Musiker. Ich meine, speziell wir mit unserer Gruppe Queen haben nie angestrebt, eine politische Gruppe zu sein. Aber ich muss sagen, wir waren schon in Argentinien. Wir haben dort eine Tournee gemacht und das Publikum war hervorragend. Ich finde, es ist für unser Land eine Schande, dass dieser Falklandkrieg überhaupt entstehen konnte. Es klingt jetzt vielleicht wie eine Ausrede, aber wir sind halt sehr weit davon weg und es hat eigentlich mit uns als Musiker nichts zu tun. Wenn man aber von uns einen Kommentar zur Falklandkrise haben will, dann kann ich nur sagen, Es ist eine verdammte Schande, dass diese zwei Länder Krieg führen. Wenn unsere Musik irgendetwas ausdrücken kann, dann ist es Frieden. Wir sind selbstverständlich gegen den Krieg. Unsere Musik ist in gewisser Weise eine Flucht. Wir wollen, dass die Leute einfach glücklich sind, unsere Musik hören und nach Hause gehen. Falkland ist eigentlich nicht unser Problem. Wir sind halt zufällig Engländer. Ja, das stimmt. Irgendwie ist es merkwürdig, dass sie unsere Platten kaufen, während sie gegen England Krieg führen.
The band's 1977 album News of the World contained We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, which have become anthems at sporting events. By the early 1980s, Queen were one of the biggest stadium rock bands in the world. Another One Bites the Dust, 1980, became their best-selling single, while their 1981 compilation album Greatest Hits is the best-selling album in the UK and is certified 8 times platinum in the US. Their performance at the 1985 Live Aid concert has been ranked among the greatest in rock history by various publications. In August 1986, Mercury gave his last performance with Queen at Nebworth, England. In 1991, he died of bronchopneumonia, a complication of AIDS, and Deacon retired in 1997. Since 2004, May and Taylor have toured under the Queen Plus name with vocalists Paul Rodgers and Adam Lambert. Estimates of Queen's record sales range from 170 million to 300 million records, making them one of the world's best-selling music artists. In 1990, Queen received the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music from the British Phonographic Industry. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. Each member has composed hit singles, and all 4 were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2003. In 2005, Queen received the Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Song Collection from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. In 2018, they were presented the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2002, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody was voted the UK's favourite hit of all time in a poll conducted by the Guinness World Records British Hit Singles Book. In 2004, the song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Many scholars consider the Bohemian Rhapsody music video groundbreaking, crediting it with popularizing the medium. Rock historian Paul Fowles stated that the song is widely credited as the first global hit single for which an accompanying video was central to the marketing strategy. It has been hailed as launching the MTV age. In December 2018, Bohemian Rhapsody became the most streamed song from the 20th century, and the most streamed classic rock song of all time. The number of downloads of the song and original video exceeded 1.6 billion across global on-demand streaming services. Acclaimed for their stadium rock, in 2005 an industry poll ranked Queen's performance at Live Aid in 1985 as the best live act in history. In 2007, they were also voted the greatest British band in history by BBC Radio 2 listeners. As of 2005, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, Queen albums have spent a total of 1,322 weeks, 26 years, on the UK album charts, more time than any other act. Also in 2005, with the release of their live album with Paul Rodgers, Queen moved into 3rd place on the list of acts with the most aggregate time spent on the British record charts. In 2006, the Greatest Hits album was the all-time best-selling album in UK chart history, with sales of 5,407,587 copies, over 604,295 more copies than its nearest competitor, the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. As of June 2020, the album has spent 390 weeks on the US Billboard 200. Their Greatest Hits 2 album is the UK's 10th bestseller, with sales of 3,746,404 copies.
when we lost Freddie, really Roger and I decided that was it for a while, and more or less we decided to have our lives in a different way. And really it only started to happen again when we met Paul Rodgers and in an organic kind of way began to make music again. So there was really no master plan, but we are here because we met Paul and there was some chemistry and we were able to make music, which is what we do. I think we better fix this. Is there a sound man in the house?
Well, since my baby left me.
It works.
Bueno, cuando perdieron a Freddie Mercury decidieron parar por un tiempo y no fue hasta que conocieron a Paul Rodgers que pudieron empezar a trabajar nuevamente de una manera muy orgánica y bueno, las cosas surgieron bien, por eso es que están de vuelta aquí.
Yes, so don't take it personally. We didn't do anything for a long time.
No lo tomen en forma personal, sino que hicimos muchas cosas durante mucho tiempo.
We have fantastic memories of the first time we came to Argentina and Buenos Aires. But after that, nobody asked us.
Tenemos maravillosos recuerdos de nuestra visita a la Argentina y del estadio del Desastre, pero después de eso nunca nadie nos pidió volver.
That's a lie. But you know that I came separately.
Bueno, ustedes saben que Brian May vino a la Argentina.
But I quickly decided that I couldn't sing, so I didn't want to.
Actually, he sings pretty good. And I must say, I'm here as well because we met and we had such a good time playing together. And they said, "Oh, let's go to Argentina." And I said, "Okay." That's
bueno,
why.
Dice que realmente la pasan muy bien cantando, Paul Rodgers la pasa muy bien cantando con Queen y le dijeron, vamos a la Argentina. Bueno, dale, vamos.
We had a fantastic welcome at the airport, and so it's nice to know that people do remember who we are.
Tuvimos una maravillosa bienvenida en el aeropuerto y es fantástico saber que la gente todavía sabe quiénes somos.
Very well on the whole, yes. The new stuff's been very well accepted. We played last night in Chile, which was the first time ever that Queen, in any form played in Chile. And they knew the words of all the classics, but also they knew the words of the new songs from the album. So I have a feeling it will be the same here.
Okay. Bueno, Brian May dice que realmente encajan muy bien las canciones dentro del setlist, que estuvieron en Chile por primera vez hace un par de días y que realmente les fue muy bien, que los chilenos conocían todas las canciones, y no solamente del nuevo disco, sino también de los clásicos. Así que le parece que tiene una sensación de que en Buenos Aires va a pasar lo mismo.
It's quite difficult to make the set list because we know a lot of people want to hear their old sort of classics, old hits, but also we like to play some new things as well. So we have to make a balance. And of course Paul has his, so many great songs also. So we have to make a balance. It's difficult.
Es difícil armar el set list porque obviamente todo el mundo tiene sus canciones favoritas y quiere escuchar sus canciones favoritas, pero también tenemos que tocar las canciones nuevas. Y además, Paul Rodgers tiene canciones propias que son muy buenas, por lo tanto es bastante difícil armar un set list.
Yeah, it is actually a problem to make the set have all these ingredients and not play for like 5 hours. So at the moment we play, I think about 2.5 or more hours last night. It is a long set, but we want to give everybody what they want, if possible.
Bueno, es muy difícil realmente armar el setlist para juntar todos los ingredientes que ellos quieren poner. Si pusiéramos todo, sería armar un setlist de 5 horas nada más. Pero me parece que con 2 horas y media más o menos va a estar bien y va a haber todo lo que todos quieren escuchar.
I think really to make this a valid thing, we've done 3 tours before we made the Cosmos Rock album. But in order not just to be sort of like old hits trio, we thought to be a valid, cogent, creative force, we needed to make some original music again. So, it's nice to have new music to play. Bueno, not just old music.
Dice que ellos ya habían hecho 3 giras antes del Cosmos Rock y que no querían convertirse en un trío que cantaba 10 canciones solamente, que para cambiar eso tenían que generar cosas nuevas y bueno, así es como surgió Cosmos Rock.
I mean, really it wasn't a choice. We didn't go around looking for singers and say, oh, we want this one. It was, we were really against this idea of replacing Freddie, but it actually came from a moment when Paul and I played together for some other reason. And we just felt that there was something special happening and there was a real chemistry, something organic was happening. And we said, why don't we try and do something? How interesting it would be to go out and play together. And of course I called Roger immediately, and Roger was like, oh yeah, that would be great, you know. But there wasn't like we choose, and I think Paul will tell you the same. He didn't like choose us. It just happened, and I think things that just happen are very often the best things, the organic events.
Bueno, en realidad no fue una elección, no hicieron un casting de cantantes. Ellos durante mucho tiempo no quisieron reemplazar a Freddie Mercury, pero tocaron con Paul Rogers por otras razones, tocaron juntos y sintieron que hubo una química, que hubo algo orgánico. Y entonces, bueno, pensaron, ¿por qué no? Inmediatamente Brian May habló con Roger Taylor, le dijo, ¿qué te parece este cantante? Roger dijo, me parece muy bien, y aquí estamos.
Paul was one of Freddie's favorite singers.
Yeah.
Paul era uno de los cantantes favoritos de Freddie Mercury.
Age before beauty.
So, Paul, what do you have to say about the question?
You know, it's true, and everybody knows really that nobody can replace Freddie, and there was never really any question of that happening. And what we have here is a partnership, you know, between Queen and myself, really, and we've made that very clear. You know, you talk about the name. That's really why we called it Queen and Paul Rogers, so that people understand from the start exactly what they're getting. And it is a combination of the two of our musical forces. And of course, let's not forget, they played my material superbly well, and that's part of what we do.
Okay. Bueno, en realidad nadie puede reemplazar a Freddie Mercury, y eso está fuera de discusión, siempre estuvo fuera de discusión. Lo que tenemos nosotros es una sociedad entre Queen y Paul Rogers, y eso es lo que se ve en el nombre, es Queen más Paul Rogers, por eso se llama así la banda ahora.
Actually, Phil Collins is a great, he's a friend of ours, and he's a great musician. He gets a lot of criticism as well. You know, we've all had a lot of that. But Phil Collins is a superb, fantastic drummer, and a pleasure to work with, a gentleman as well.
Bueno, en cuanto a la pregunta sobre Hot Space, fueron simplemente honestos. Y en cuanto a tu pregunta sobre el tributo a la reina Isabel, trabajar con Phil Collins está bien porque es un gran músico, verdaderamente un gran músico que también recibe muchas críticas, y es un gran baterista y un caballero.
Interesting question. Yeah. No, I don't think we need to prove it, but I think we need to be it. I think, you know, once you are a musician, once you have traveled that road, it's always calling to you. And it is what we do. I mean, we do other things, we all have other things, we have lives, you know, and we don't need to do this all the time. But there is something inside which makes you want to communicate, makes you want to make music, to see people happy, to see that kind of excitement, and it never leaves you. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, it's like with a painter, you know, you don't, oh, I've done a good one. I'll stop now.
Okay, thank you. Bueno, en realidad no necesitan probarse ellos mismos ni al público. Simplemente es una cuestión de estar, de hacerlo, de seguir trabajando. Todos hay que seguir para adelante, ¿sí? Y bueno, todos tienen vidas, pero al mismo tiempo hay algo adentro de ellos que los hace seguir adelante. Tiene que ver con la felicidad que causan en el público y con la alegría.
It sort of happened naturally, really. It was very organic, some of it, and some of the album is like very natural and spontaneous, and some of the album is very produced. But it is Brian and myself, and when we play together, we do sound like Queen.
Yeah. It's very much a combination of the three of us and who we are and how we sound with our different signatures in music.
Bueno, en realidad pasó naturalmente el sonido del álbum, fue una cosa muy orgánica y muy espontánea, está muy producido por ellos, y es el resultado de cómo suenan cuando se juntan a tocar Brian y Roger. Paul Rogers también dice que es una combinación de los tres, ¿sí? de lo que se genera cuando los tres empiezan a tocar.